New update, new mission, new Warframe, new rewards. You clicked onto this video, so you already know what we're going to be talking about today. How long will it take to get Citrine, her weapons, and all the arcanes that come from the new Mirror Defense mission? I'm the engineer, let's solve a practical problem. This probably isn't your first time on this channel, so if you're enjoying the videos and want to see more, support me over on Patreon with the link in the video description. Citrine's blueprints and the blueprints for her weapons can be farmed from the new Mirror Defense mission, which is found on Mars. This mission is unlocked only after completion of the Heart of Deimos quest, an early game quest, so the requirements aren't too high to enter. The mission level, however, is substantially above that of normal Mars missions, closer to that of Uranus and Neptune, with enemy levels scaling as the mission continues, giving you increased difficulty. For more established players, it'll still be a steamroll, but it's not to be confused with typical Mars missions for the newest players watching. There are 3 ways rewards are given from this mission. First is the standard reward rotation process at the end of each round. One round consists of defending both crystals once, awarding a random reward from the relevant drop tables. Mirror Defense uses the AABC rotation, just like normal defense. For more information on how rotations work, check out my guide on that specific topic linked in the video description. Citrine's main and parts blueprints drop on rotation C, while her weapons main blueprints drop on rotation A, and her weapons parts drop on rotation B, while the arcanes are split across both rotations B and C. The second reward given from this mission is also at the end of each round. 2 unique resources are added with this mission, the Belric crystal fragments, which are blue crystals, and Rania crystal fragments, which are red crystals. You'll get 10 of each of these per round on normal mode, or 15 of each per round on the Steel Path mode. This is guaranteed every single round, so long as you successfully defend. The third reward is more of these crystals, awarded every time your squad picks up a total of 50 Citrine's remnants throughout the mission. These remnants can be picked up at any time, carrying between both crystals and rounds during a mission. Every set of 50 pickups will award you either Belric or Rania crystal fragments, alternating between the two. You'll get 5 fragments as a reward on normal mode, or 7 on the Steel Path. Roughly speaking then, Steel Path awards about 50% more crystal fragments in exchange for massively higher level and threat of acolyte attacks. These crystal fragments have exactly one purpose. They are currency used with Otak in the Necrolisc on Deimos. You can turn them in to purchase the blueprints and arcanes that drop randomly from the Mirror Defense mission, as well as a couple extra items exclusive to the shop. You don't need these crystal fragments to build anything or to be used anywhere else, so they solely act as a token system for buying what you didn't get whilst farming. In this way then, if you aren't lucky enough to receive Citrine or weapon blueprints by chance, you can use the crystals to get what you're missing, meaning every mission is always giving you progress one way or another. Always hold off buying items from the shop until it would complete a set for you. If you buy a blueprint earlier and then go back to farming, you might end up getting that same blueprint as a random drop, effectively wasting the crystal fragments you spent. Now, because of this ability to earn extra crystal fragments by collecting Citrine's remnants during the mission, the rate at which you can farm the rewards is partly skill based. You'll want Warframes who are good at getting around to collect remnants so as not to miss and waste any. As mentioned in the patch notes, the remnant spawns are slightly affected by killing enemies. So long as you are consistently keeping the kills going, remnants should keep spawning. However, if you stop killing, the remnants also stop spawning. I tested this with a group of players from the community. When we had all 4 players focused on scooping, including Titania's Razorflies passively killing a little over 100 enemies, we gained 105 total crystal fragments from the mission rewards. Doing the same with 2 scooping frames and 2 damage frames, racking up over 1,500 kills, we still got the same amount of fragments. However, when switching to entirely non-damaging setups for looting, using Gara's Mass Vitrify to stop the enemies, the remnant spawns would not replenish after the initial burst of them at the start of each defense. Once we shattered the glass wall from Gara, killing dozens of enemies instantly, the remnants resume spawning. So you do need kills to get more fragments, but you don't need lots of kills, just enough to keep the process going. As for rates, collecting from both my own runs and from community data, I've observed that solo players not well equipped for scooping remnants can get as low as 2 extra fragment rewards per round. More competent teams, focused on collecting remnants, can comfortably get an extra 6 fragment rewards per round. In terms of actual fragments then, this puts a slow rate of farming at 60 of each colour on rotation C for normal mode, or 88 on the Steel Path. For a more competent squad, this climbs to a higher rate of 100 of both colours on rotation C for normal mode, or 144 on the Steel Path. For particularly efficient squads, you may get a little bit more than that still, and particularly slow solo runs may be yet worse, but these are the reasonable ranges to expect. Between the random drops and these rates of gathering fragments for Otak's shop, I've simulated the scenarios a million times over per set of conditions to bring us to our ultimate question of how long will these farms take? For farming just Citrine, the high earning squad on the Seal Path will typically have a full set in 8 runs of Rotation C. With 25 minutes per Rotation C, that comes out to just about 3.5 hours. Even the worst case scenario for that squad will end up taking only 11 runs, and that's with buying all 4 parts of Citrine from Otak's shop. As for a low yield on the Seal Path, or a high yield on normal mode, the average is instead about 10 runs of Rotation C, which is about 4 hours. A low yield squad on the Steel Path, not picking up many remnants, may need to keep running for up to 18 rotations, while a high yield on normal mode would definitely be done within 15 rotations, so up to 6 to 7 hours if you take the easier mission or do the harder version slowly. At the worst end, where you're both slow at gathering remnants and only on normal mode, the average runs for Citrine rises to 12, which is about 5 hours, with the maximum climbing to 26 runs if you get really unlucky, which is about 11 hours. This would only be the case for someone running solo, without parkour or flight bonuses, and simply failing to get more than 2 extra fragment drops per round. On top of this, Citrine does require modest materials to build, including a couple gems from Deimos open world mining, but it's nothing too fancy overall. Of course, we're not just looking at Citrine's farm. When we take into account getting the weapons too, that's going to add on some time of course. You'll likely pick up some weapon parts along the way to farming both Citrine and the weapon fragment costs, but how many you get can vary your time. If you're running in a high yield Steel Path group, you'll typically need 12 runs to get Citrine and her weapons, which is about 5 hours, while moderate yield will take about 6 to 7 hours, and a slow runner typically 8 hours across 19 runs. If you're unlucky, a fast paced squad can take up to 9 hours, and a low yield squad as many as 16 hours, but we're talking substantially less than 1 in 1,000 chance in either case to take that long. The biggest chunk of farming time, however, is when we include the arcanes too. I'm not taking into account trading here, but you can theoretically trade some duplicate weapon parts you'll acquire for platinum to get some arcanes instead that way. But doing it without trading with other players, a high yield squad on the Steel Path is looking at 20 hours to grab everything, while a mid race is about 25 hours, and a slow grinder is looking about 37 hours on average. Given that most of these arcanes are only usable once you've unlocked the Steel Path anyway, it's safe to say that even if you wanted to farm every single arcane all the way up to max, on top of Citrine, on top of her weapons, 25 hours or less is the time you can expect to get all of that. This all follows a similar pattern to DE's other recent releases of Warframes farmed through more general content like this. Citrine is an earlier farm to start than Varuna or Jaya, with lower build cost too, but she's still quite a bit of work to obtain, and the arcanes take a lot longer on top. I hope this gives you the understanding you were looking for in how long it takes to get hold of Citrine and the rest of her gear. That's all from me for now, so as always, gather fragments, get Citrine, and fight well, Tenno.